How's everyone doing? I'm back here again for another video, and in this video I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite horror movies. These are the horror movies that I always think about whenever I think about great horror movies. I've grown up watching a lot of these movies, and they're ones that have always been my favorites. I've seen so many horror movies throughout the years, but these are the ones that have always stayed with me throughout the years, and I think that that's what makes a movie a favorite. Is a movie that stays with you, a movie that you always love and enjoy watching. Whenever I go to watch these, I always get excited because I just know how great they are to me, and I just know that I'm just going to enjoy watching them. Yeah, guys, I'm not going to talk too much about each of these movies because these are movies that I'm pretty sure everyone has seen. But if you haven't seen any of these movies, I recommend checking them out. But like I said, these are movies that I'm pretty sure everyone has seen. These are all really popular horror movies, so I'm sure everyone has seen them. Now, I did try and not include any sequels in this list. However, I do love a lot of the sequels to these movies. However, there is one movie that is a sequel, and it's one of the rare times where I actually enjoy a sequel more than the original, but I will get to that. But like I said, guys, these are just movies that have just stayed with me. These are movies that I just love, and I always look forward to watching them. Of course, now that it is around Halloween in October, I am going to be watching all of these. I've actually already watched a few of these, but I do plan on watching all of these before October. So yeah, guys, so for deal, let's go and get started. Also, I just want to mention that these movies are the first 5 of these movies are in no particular order. However, the last 5 are definitely my top 5, and they're in the order that I love them. So, without further ado, let's go and get started. And the first movie I'm going to talk about is Pet Sematary. Now, I remember the first time I saw this movie, and it really, really creeped me out. I think just the whole idea of there being a graveyard, and if you take somebody or something there, it comes back from the dead. I've always really loved that concept. And of course, the little boy Gage, him coming back from the dead is just really just such a creepy and I love the actors. I forget his name, but the actor who played him, I thought he did a really good job. But the one thing that really creeped me out about this movie, and it's something that I've heard so many other people say has creeped me out, is Aunt Zelda, the mother's aunt that dies, and then, and the scenes with her and the mother feeding her and stuff, there's just something about those scenes that are just so creepy. But yeah, guys, Pet Sematary is a true classic. It's one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. I haven't seen all of them, but that one is definitely one of my favorite ones, of his books made into a film. And yeah, there's just so many great scenes in that movie, and it's just one of my favorites. Now, the next one is one that I think people are divided on. I know some people really love this movie, and some people really don't. But the next one that I chose is 13 Ghosts. Now, I remember the first time I saw this movie, and I remember thinking it was really, really fun. I really liked the idea of there being, 13, dead people trapped in this glass house. I remember when I first saw this movie, and I thought it was the coolest looking house I'd ever seen in a movie. It was all glass, and it had the writings on the walls or on the windows, basically. And I just loved the way the house looked. And I also loved how each of the ghosts has their own backstory. Like, you got the dying mother and the overweight son. You got the little boy dressed up as an Indian with an arrow through his head. I just love that each of the ghosts had their own backstory. And yeah, and Matthew Lillard, sorry, can't pronounce his name. Matthew Lillard, I liked his character too, of how that he, if he touched you, he could see things and in your future or your past or whatever. Yeah, 13 Ghosts has always been one that I always thought was really fun. I know it's a movie that people have mixed feelings about, but I've always really enjoyed it. And it's one movie that I always try to watch every year. I know Sci-Fi plays it a lot. Yeah, it's just one movie that I just always go back to, and I just always love. It's one of the most rewatched horror movies for me. Now, the next one, I don't think you can have a top 10 list without mentioning the original Friday the 13th. Now, in my opinion, Friday the 13th, I think, is what really started the slasher genre. I know there were a few movies before, like, of course, Halloween and Psycho, but I saw those as more thrillers. And to be honest, Halloween doesn't really follow a lot of the cliches that other slasher films do. But Friday the 13th, I think, does. I think Friday the 13th was the one that set the standard for it, and I think so many other movies have tried to copy that or try to do it again. I know that Friday the 13th is technically just Halloween redone again, but I really think Friday the 13th is the true, I guess maybe first slasher. I mean, I know there's other movies like like Black Christmas and other movies before that, but I kind of see those as more thrillers, to be honest, and I think that they kind of came out before the term slasher sort of I guess was sort of created or whatever. I mean, I don't really know the first year that the term slasher film first started being used, but I think Friday the 13th is the true kind of original slasher. I think the ones that came before were thrillers, but I love Friday the 13th. I love the setting on of the camp and the isolation of just being in the woods, and somebody's out there just killing people off one by one. I love movies that take place in the woods. I think that's a great setting for a horror movie, and I think Friday the 13th is the one that really started that. All right, now the next one, as I said at the beginning of the video, there's only one sequel in this list, and this is the rare time where I actually prefer a sequel over the original. But the movie I'm talking about, Evil Dead 2, I absolutely love the Evil Dead movies, and this was the first one that I ever saw, and I absolutely love it. I think Ash is one of the greatest, horror heroes of all time, and this is the one where he gets the iconic chainsaw hand and the boomstick. That was what really started that, and then in Army of Darkness he uses it a lot more. But I love Evil Dead 2. There's so many great scenes, like the scene when he kills his girlfriend, he has to cut her head off, and then she comes back. The gore in this movie is always great. I love the over amounts of gore. I know they did a lot more of it in the original, but in the second one, I think I like it a bit more because it's more done comedic. Like the first one, I think is more of a straightforward horror movie, and I love the original. Don't get me wrong. I love the original, and I love Army of Darkness, but Evil Dead 2 I saw first. And I've always loved it the most out of all of them. It's definitely my favorite of the series. The next one, Suspiria. This was the first Dario Argento movie that I ever saw, and I remember it was the first time I saw it, and I had never seen an Italian giallo before. And when I first saw that, I just remember thinking how beautiful the movie was. The colors that he uses in this movie, like there's like the one scene where I forget the character, Sarah. Yeah, Sarah is talking to main girl, and I can't remember her name. I know her, Jessica Harper is her name I can't think of her name right now. Susie, that's right. There's a scene when she's talking to her, and her face has blue on it, in the background there's like red, or I think her face has like a red hue to it, and then there's like a blue hue behind her. I love that. It's the first time I ever saw that before, so I just absolutely love the colors that are used in this movie. I think the movie is beautiful, but then there's also really creepy moments in it, and there's also some really good gore scenes. Also, I absolutely love the soundtrack to this movie, one of my all-time favorite horror movie soundtracks. You'll notice that a lot of these movies have really great soundtracks, and I love the soundtracks to Suspiria. So yeah, that one is definitely one of my favorites. Ever since I saw it, I just absolutely loved it. The next one was actually the first movie I ever saw that was directed by Tim Burton, and it was the first movie that I ever saw that stars Johnny Depp. Sleepy Hollow. I absolutely love Sleepy Hollow. This movie has such an amazing autumn and fall feeling. Just them being out there in the town, and the scenes when they're out in the woods, and and just everything. This movie has just an amazing fall feeling. Like I said, it was the first movie I ever saw Johnny Depp in, and I had seen Christina Ricci in Casper before this. But I thought they were both great in this movie, and this movie actually kind of started a little bit of an obsession of mine a little bit, because after I saw this, I actually went and I read the book, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, and I really enjoyed that as well. But yeah, guys, Sleepy Hollow is just a classic for me, and I just absolutely love it. I know I keep saying that I love these movies, but it's the true. I absolutely love all of them. Now, speaking of great soundtracks and just an all-around amazing movie, Phantasm. I absolutely love Phantasm. One of my favorite parts about the movie is that the main character is a young boy, and you see things through his eyes. And I love movies where you see things through a young kid's eyes. And it does have the old he sees something going on in his town, and nobody believes him. His older brother doesn't believe him, and then later on, when he gives proof, then he does. But I absolutely love him, and I love how smart he is, and how he goes around with his knife. When he breaks into the mortuary to try to figure out what's going on, and that's when he discovers the tall man and the silver spear, which I think is one of the most iconic horror weapons, I think. Yeah, I absolutely love Phantasm. I also love Phantasm 2. That's one of my favorite horror sequels of all time. But yeah, guys, Phantasm is definitely up there. And again, I love the soundtrack. All right, guys, and now we're down to the top 3. And the next one I'm going to talk about, I actually just finished watching A Nightmare on Elm Street. I absolutely love A Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy Krueger is one of my favorite horror icons of all time. I just love his character, and I just absolutely love this movie. Again, I think it's got an amazing soundtrack. I love the theme song, and I also love the other music that plays throughout the entire movie. Like the one scene when Nancy is laying in bed at the sleep paralysis, not the paralysis, but the sleep, wherever she's at, where they're studying her while she's sleeping. The music that plays in that scene, I absolutely love. And yeah, like I said, Freddy Krueger is one of the most iconic horror villains of all time. I definitely prefer Freddy over Jason. I know, I just think that Freddy is just, I love that he can go into your dreams. The one place where you want to feel safe is when you're sleeping. So for him to go and invade the dreams of the children whose parents killed him before, I've always loved that concept. And of course he has the knives, the glove. I mean, that's just one of the most iconic horror weapons of all time. So yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street, absolutely love that film. Now the next movie is actually the first horror movie I ever saw. I remember seeing this movie when I was 6 years old, and I remember it scaring me. And I remember when I went to school, I started getting really paranoid. So my mom took this movie away from me and wouldn't let me watch it. But that is the original Child's Play. Yeah, with one of the greatest horror icons of all time, Chucky. I absolutely love Chucky. And yeah, I remember Child's Play. That movie just really scared me a lot when I was a kid. But I never really told my mom or my dad that the movie scared me, because I didn't want to stop watching it because I enjoyed the movie so much. But yeah, I still think Child's Play is still a pretty creepy movie. I know that there's been so many other movies, and Chucky sort of became more of a comedic character. There's always been a bit of comedy in all the Child's Play movies, but in the later ones, when Seed of Chucky and Bride, I think he kind of he became a lot more of a comedic killer, much like Freddy Krueger. But I think with the new TV series that's coming out, I'm really looking forward to seeing the new TV series. I think that one looks really good, and I'm glad that they're bringing back pretty much everybody for it. So I'm really looking forward to the new Chucky TV series. But I still think that the original Child's Play is still really creepy and, dark movie. I'm also really love Child's Play 2. That's one of my favorite horror sequels, and I enjoy Child's Play 3 as well. I know that movie is kind of like the kind of, it takes place in a military and it gets some hate, but I do enjoy Child's Play 3. And last but not least, last but not least, because I can't talk tonight, guys. My number one favorite horror movie of all time, and I'm sure if you guys have been following me, you know which one it is. The original Halloween. What more about this movie can I say that hasn't already been said? It's a classic. It's lived on for years. Michael Myers is my all-time favorite horror icon, and I just absolutely love this movie. The entire film. I love all the characters. I love, Laurie Strode's character. Jamie Lee Curtis. I love her character in this. It's just Donald Pleasance, one of the greatest horror heroes of all time, and of course the soundtrack, one of the greatest iconic, horror movie themes of all time that just plays throughout the movie. I also really love the music that plays when Laurie first walks out of her house and she's holding the pumpkin and her dad says, don't forget to drop the key off of the Myers place. The music that plays in that scene, which is known as Laurie's theme, I think. I absolutely love that, and I actually think that next to the theme song, that is my favorite piece of music in the entire movie. I absolutely love the soundtrack of Halloween, one of the most iconic horror soundtracks, and I just absolutely love this, I just absolutely love Halloween, and, of course I watch it every year. I try to watch it on Halloween. I don't know if I'm going to be able to watch it this year because Halloween's on a Sunday, and I'll have to get up and go to work, so I might not be able to watch it on Halloween, but if I don't, I'll try to watch it before, but I will definitely watch it. But yeah, guys, that is it. That is my top 10 favorite horror movies of all time. Let me know what you guys think about all these movies. Like I said, I absolutely love all these movies. These are movies that, I always look forward to watching. They're ones that have always been my favorites throughout the years. I love the soundtracks to these movies. I love the characters. Just pretty much everything about these movies I love. So let me know down below what you guys think about these movies. And let me know what is your top 10. I'd love to see you guys do maybe a video response. If you do, let me know if you did one. Because I'd love to see what is your favorite, your top 10 favorite horror movies. Anyway, guys, thanks everyone for watching. As always, if you guys want to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, links are always down in the description box below. Alright, guys, thanks for watching, and expect a lot more horror-related videos coming up in the next month. Alright, see y'all later.